you're going to create a parachute. Okay? So yeah, you're jumping out of an airplane, but you have parachutes. So you need to learn to look at the situation and how do you mitigate the downside. All right, my friends, the Ultimate OD Podcast. Two of our favorite friends today, risk and control. I'm going to tell you how to mitigate those two factors, how to use them to your advantage, and climb the ladder of entrepreneurial success. All right, a little office talk, how I'm leaning on the people around me to make my office better. Closing thought of the episode. This is the Ultimate OD Podcast. Here we go. All right, my friends, the Ultimate OD Podcast. Thank you for tuning in, listening, giving me feedback. I've talked to a lot of you the past few weeks, and it's giving me juice. It's giving me energy. I love hearing what you're doing, what you're going to do, any issues or problems that you have. I like working through it with you. It makes me a better doctor. I hope it helps you out, but keep reaching out. Now, I do want to address something that was brought to my attention. I'm disappointed in most of you, because it only was one person who told me that the transition between phases, my voice is one, volume level, and then when it switches, it's like really loud. If you're getting any audio issues, please let me know. I don't deal with that, but we want to make it the best possible listening experience that we can. So if you're having issues, just reach out. So that being said, we're going to talk about something that's kind of been on my mind as of late. It's the idea that there are entrepreneurs and wantrepreneurs, all right? People that want to be a private practice owner and people that are actually doing it. Now, there's distinct characteristics and stuff that we'll talk about as we go through here, but be an entrepreneur. Action trumps theory. You have to be proactive, take action, stop thinking about the life you can have, and have it. Now, here's some things I want you to think about. When you are, whether you're in practice, you have a private practice, you're going to be a student, you're thinking about going into optometry school, what do you want? Do you like playing with your practice? Do you like the idea of like, oh, I'm going to switch this, I'm going to do that? Or do you actually like running a business? Right? They're not the same things. Running a business means you're looking at your KPIs, you're looking at your P&L, you're minimizing your expenses, you're maximizing top line revenue. You're growing your business. You're caring about marketing, about merchandising in your optical, how your flow works, how do you optimize your staff. All of these things are part of actually running a business. Now, some people just want to not work for someone else. All right? That I would not call necessarily an entrepreneur. So 6 categories that I think people fall into. All right? Whether you're an entrepreneur or a wantrepreneur, 6 categories. Number 1, you want to have a private practice, but you never take the leap. All right, there's a lot of different reasons. Money, you got used to the lifestyle that you have at your corporate entity or the job that you have, and you don't take the jump. All right. Number 2, an independent contractor. Someone that has their own business. It's in a Walmart or a Pearl Vision or something where you collect all the fees for the services, but the optical and that side of the business is run by someone else. That's not a bad model. That's right for some people. And there are business aspects to that, things you can invest in. People that start a practice and it's a lifestyle practice. Okay? So they start an office and they like working 3 days a week. They like seeing, 2, 3 patients. In this situation, maybe their spouse has a job that has the benefits, has the majority of the income, and you do this because, well, you like it. It's fun, and that's, again, nothing wrong with that. I just, again, want to lay these out. The thriving one-doctor practice. Okay, this is a little more than a lifestyle, but you are a one-doctor-centric practice, and you just keep turning and burning. You're doing amazing. We'll talk about that doctor in a second. That doctor is on the cusp of really being an entrepreneur. They're beyond entrepreneur because they care about their business, but they're not taking the next step. From there, you have the office location that is that thriving one doctor takes the next step. They bring on another doctor. All right. That doctor is now managing the doctor, the staff, a little bit more of a business because when he's not there, they're making money. And then there's the entrepreneurial type that has multiple locations. They have a business model, they implement it, and then that's how the business runs. That's the true entrepreneurial spirit. Now, within each category, minus the person that wants to have a practice that doesn't start it, they're the entrepreneurs, right? Everyone else is taking a shot. They're making their moves. They're doing, part of the battle. I want you to think about who you are in that category and what you're doing right now, right? What do you want to be? I'll tell you honestly, I had this vision when I knew I was working at Dow Chemical in Midland, Michigan. I had just got done with my senior year of undergrad, and I was talking to one of my coworkers, 35, 40-year-old guy, good guy, mentor, wrote a letter of recommendation for me. I'm like, I'm going to have like 5-6 practices that are going to be up West Michigan, bunch of different offices. I don't know what I'm going to call them, but just a ton of practices. It's like, all right, I always had that entrepreneurial, that business mindset. Go through school, I graduate, start cold, fresh out, right? Start the practice. You know what? It was hard. It was a little more than I thought. A lot of learning on the fly, jumping off the cliff, learning how to fly. Didn't have anyone I could really lean on. I had a mentor in Cheyenne, Wyoming, but that's 15 hours away, driving X amount of hours away. And he's running an amazing multi-million-dollar practice, multiple doctors. He can only help me so much. So I did the best I could. 3 years in, I started a second practice. Now, great in theory, but you need to hire another doctor. I didn't do that. So I was that entrepreneur turned entrepreneur, and then I realized it was hard. Closed that practice right before COVID, and I've built my office into a thriving one-doctor practice. We are doing amazing, maximizing my maximum potential, okay? But I'll tell you this. It's not a business if you leave, you don't make money. That's honestly a job. I have a very good job right now, right? I'm doing great revenue-wise. I like my scope of practice. I have all the control, but you know what? It's not quite the business, all right? What does it take? Take that job and make it a business, all right? And why most people don't go that next step comes down to 2 factors. Number 1, risk, and number 2, control, all right? The more of a business you become, the more risk you have and the less control. That's like an optometrist, like out of optometry school, our worst nightmare. All we want is low risk and a lot of control. All right? We really try to avoid that risk aspect. We are very risk averse. You ever talk to an optometrist and someone that's getting ready to start and, I think I'm pretty risk averse. Then I talk to them and the next thing you know is like, oh, I'm a risk taker. I'm jumping off cliffs compared to them. If you ever talk to an optometrist that's getting, thinking about starting a practice, and you'll really see what risk averse is. They know they don't know anything and they want answers for everything before they even make a leap. And half the time they get into bad deals, right? They do something that they shouldn't have because they fear that they're going to make a bad decision. They're trying to mitigate the risk in the wrong way. So here's my advice to you. When it comes to risk, right? You don't have to think to grow. I have to take these big, giant risks and I could lose everything, right? There's something called mitigating risk. You're going to create a parachute, okay? So yeah, you're jumping out of an airplane, but you have parachutes. So you need to learn to look at the situation and how do you mitigate the downside. You're never going to completely eliminate it, but you want to reduce as much downside as possible and leave yourself the most opportunity for huge victories, big wins. Okay? So there's ways you can do this. One is looking at your cash flow analysis, right? When you make a risk, 9 out of 10 times, you're worried about a monetary decision that you're going to make. Knowing your budget personally is huge. For example, when COVID hit, my first thought was, what am I spending money on and what can I cut? How minimally can I live with my wife and my kids? What can I do to mitigate that? What's my bottom line? Okay, found out what that is. Then I found out how much can I cut from my business? Like, what can I stop buying? What can we stop doing? And I found out that if I did nothing else with the cash I had in the bank and, operating at the minimum possible capacity, I had about 4 to 5 months of runway. I think I had more than that because I had a line of credit too. But I could go probably 6 to 12 months and make it by. All right? So if you do that same thing when you're going to make a decision, so you're buying a new piece of equipment, or you're going to get a new location, or you're going to hire another doctor, look at that. How minimal do you need in terms of income? I always say start with the money. And then look at what kind of lifestyle you want to live. For example, if you're taking on this new doctor, what are you willing to do to help them succeed? Are you willing to, be open on weekends? Are you willing to, give some of your, patient care to them so they grow and build a reputation? How much money are you willing to put into marketing that doctor? Again, there's a lot of risk there, but if you know your numbers, know the risk you're willing to take and what kind of runway you have a parachute. You'll take the risk, you'll minimize the downside, okay? Learn that risk is not a bad thing if you treat it appropriately, if you respect it and do what you need to do to make the right moves. Now, you're not always going to come out on top. I've fallen on my face numerous times. For example, when I started that second office and didn't hire another doctor, I was doing okay. We were still making a profit. But the moment we cut it and I started seeing my cash flow, my bottom of my P&L, my net just skyrocket, I'm like, wow. That was a money-sucking entity that was just, taking my time, effort, and energy, and it wasn't worth it. I learned a ton, though. All right? When you take a risk and you fail, you're going to be better the next time you do the same thing or you do something similar. So realize risk is your friend. Do not be afraid to take risk. Just mitigate the downside. Okay? That's how you move up that hierarchy of, entrepreneurs to entrepreneurs. Learn to mitigate the risk. All right, the next thing is control. This is a very you-dependent thing. I'll use me as the example. How did I get to the point that I'm at? Right? I worked as hard as I could, studied, started practice. That was an all-me thing. I was going to ride or die on my own talents, on my own effort, my own, talents, abilities, skills. Right? That is how I love to operate. I like being a loner and putting it all on me. That can get you only so far. A thriving one doctor practice. Okay? I have a job. I do not have a business. You have to fight everything that you've done in your past that got you to this point. I talk to any of my other fellow colleagues that are still in that, getting ready to go to that next phase, start a practice, or they're the thriving one doctor practice, and they've all done it on their own. They've just rolled up their sleeves and they've done the work. You are fighting the same thing as me. You have to get out of your own way. When you talk to the doctors that are doing the things that we want to do, they have multiple docs in there, they have multiple locations, they've learned to trust their team. They've learned that they got to spend their time on the things that matter, right? If you're still dealing with, Mrs. Jenkins having a problem with her co-pays or that, and you're stepping in to fix the problem, or someone breaks a pair of glasses and you're the one that's solving it. You're answering phone calls. You're the one that's still pulling insurances for patients. Dare I say, you're still the only one that can make a decision in terms of picking out your frames in the optical, right? You haven't delegated that task to someone else. Again, you set the budget, you tell them where they need to be, but you're making all those critical decisions, not how you're going to grow. So control, we all love it. I mean, it means so much. This is your baby. This is what you built. The business will never love you back. When you stop caring so much and realizing that 80% is okay, and that extra 20% you'll make up on the back end, you'll make up somewhere else, but 80% of what you would have done is going to help you focus on the things that matter to get to the next level. That's when you start moving up the hierarchy. That's when you start having a business. And I'll end this with this closing thought. So Obviously, there's risk, there's control. Those are two things I want you to really think about how you manage both and where you want to be in that hierarchy of practices. What do you want to be? Know where you want to be, how you're going to mitigate the risk, how you're going to mitigate the control aspect. And remember this, the majority of the regrets in my life are the actions I did not take. Where I thought the risk was too great and I didn't make the move. And I look back and I'm kicking myself in it. Like, obviously I should have done this. It makes so much sense after the fact. Realize that there's a pattern to life. These things keep happening and happening and happening. When you recognize a pattern, it's a cheat code in what you're doing. Don't keep making the same mistakes, except that you're going to feel a little uncomfortable, but that uncomfortable feeling is how you grow and expand. You got to get better at seeing the future, predicting what's going to happen. Now, again, you're going to fall on your face, you're going to make mistakes, but if you mitigate the downside, you don't put all your chips in that bucket, you will be fine. And at the end of the day, you know what? You can always get a job as an optometrist. So that's what I have for you. We'll have more for you next week. All right, my friends, a little office talk. So I am trying to be the best possible office I can be. I've been beating the drum of what I believe in. Dry eye. We're really emphasizing optical. Those are my two main focuses right now. There's only so much your staff can handle. There's only so much I can handle. What I'm doing right now is gathering the reps that represent the things that matter to me. Amniotic membranes, some of my frame reps, some of my contact lens reps. I'm having them come in and give lunch and learns to my staff. I coordinate with them, like these are the messages that we're talking about. For example, talking to Precision One, Daily Sort of One, my Alcon rep. I'm like, hey, we're a dry eye practice. Your lenses are great for dry eye. When you talk to them about the technologies behind that, the new Total 30 lens, can you emphasize the dry eye aspect? I'm going to do the same thing with my Cooper rep, the Energist, how it helps on screens, devices, how we can help our patients with the technologies that we're using. I'm trying to get other voices in that are still being the same drum that I am, but they have a little bit different methodology, a little bit different position. But if my staff keeps hearing it, it's going to start to resonate, right? It's the messages that I want out there in the world, I'm infusing in them, and I'm leaning on my reps to help do it. They have been amazing. They want you to sell their products. They're going to give you all the tips, tricks, and tools to do that. My frame reps, one of my main reps that I'm using, he's going to come in and tell the story of the brand, what it means, how to put that out there, give a little bit more of a customized experience, make our office stand out. And you know what these reps have? They talk to everyone. They talk to your competition. They talk to your friends. They talk to industry leaders. The resources that these companies have in marketing, in messaging, is we can't even fathom that. Like in a private practice setting, we are scratching the surface. We're spitting in the ocean of their knowledge, right? Utilize it. They want to give it to you. They want you to be successful. Lean on them. I was very naive to this at first because I know they talk and, give away all your secrets. Implementation is the key. We have a podcast about implementing it. Most of you guys, not you guys are the ultimate ODs. Most of our colleagues don't implement what they put in there. They'll get the messaging and then they'll keep doing the same thing. Be better. Be that 10% that's a step above, a step ahead of everyone else. Okay? So lean on your reps. Also, I'm ready to grow. I'm ready to expand. I want to make a change. This is easy to say. If you just talk about it and you don't do anything about it, I put you in the class of the entrepreneur. That's where I feel like, as I'm criticizing myself, we're our own worst critics, where I've been lacking. I've talked forever about what I want to do. It's time to get moving. I'm calling reps. I'm calling my lawyers. I'm calling my brokers. I'm calling anyone and everyone. All hands on deck. And I'm just going to make this happen, right? Action always is better than inaction. If you want something done, Start talking to people. Just by talking to other people, I've gotten more opportunities than I would have had if I didn't do anything, but I've got more opportunities than I probably have in the past year and a half because I'm looking for them. I'm trying to make it happen. I'm out there talking to people. Action beats an action. Just always try to get better. That's what I have. That's some Office Talk. We'll have more for you next week. Where, oh where has the time gone? We are to the closing thought of the episode, and today I will leave you with this. We find what we look for, and we look for what we know. The more you know, the more you look, that's how you are successful. Whether it's, looking for pathology in the eye, whether it's looking for opportunities that you want in your profession, in your personal life, we look for what we know, right? The more you know, the more you look for. So why do I tell you that? Realize that if you're not finding what you want, you're not looking for it. You haven't gathered the energy of the universe and channeled it into your body, right? Let's get meta with this. Start looking for the things that you want. If you're not finding them, start reading different things. Start listening to different podcasts. Start talking to different people. That's how change will happen. That's what you need. We are going to be better. Dr. Lily out.